The Earth's atmosphere is constantly in a state of turbulence, and sometimes when conditions are just right, strange atmospheric abnormalities can form, such as what you see here. Stay tuned, we're going to take a look at 15 amazing sky and weather phenomena. Number 15. Fire whirls. Fire on its own can be pretty scary. It is, after all, one of the most natural destructive forces on the planet. So what about when fire gets wrapped up in the weather? Fire whirls or fire tornadoes usually happen during a wildfire, and while they're not an actual tornado, a fire whirl is still a vortex that sucks in all of the nearby grasses and combustible materials, and as the updraft increases, the fire only gets bigger, which quite literally adds fuel to the fire. Not only are fire whirls incredibly scary, but these things can last for at least an hour, with their interior temperatures rising to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and can jut up into the sky to reach heights of a mile high and whip around at speeds of 120 miles an hour. Even if you're sitting at a bonfire and staring into the flames, it may not be uncommon to catch a glimpse of a small-scale fire whirl. And even scientists create them in labs to study them. Fire whirl may certainly be amazing from afar, but if you ever see one up close, then you know it's time to run. Number 14. Volcanic lightning. On its own, a volcanic eruption can be both a terrifying and mystifying experience, and it's best viewed from a distance. But many eruptions are accompanied by a unique natural phenomenon known as volcanic lightning. Also known as a dirty thunderstorm, volcanic lightning is different from your average thunderstorm. Here, the lightning doesn't come down from the sky towards the Earth, but it would seem from the eruption itself. No one knows exactly why this happens, but many scientists believe that the rock fragments, ash, and ice particles in the volcanic plume collide with one another and clash with the cooler air, and the oppositely charged particles separate from each other. The charge distribution balances out, creating the lightning bolt. Think of it perhaps as the ultimate static shock, only this one is much louder and far more destructive. And some of the bigger volcanic storms just might prove to be as powerful as the supercell thunderstorms that spawn tornadoes. Some of these volcanic lightning bolts and storms have been seen over eruptions in Japan, Iceland, and even Alaska. Number 13. Lenticular clouds. Altocumulus lenticularis, or lenticular clouds, are stationary clouds that may have you calling the news and telling them that an alien invasion has finally begun. But don't be alarmed, because although lenticular clouds are totally out of this world, they're also totally normal. These crazy clouds have a lens shape that form at high altitudes, so if you're living high up there in the mountains, then you may be able to catch a glimpse of one. Otherwise, good luck. The lenticular cloud can be separated into an altocumulus standing lenticularis, cirrocumulus standing lenticular, or stratocumulus standing lenticular, and typically align itself perpendicular to the direction of the wind. But because they're so big and refuse to move, they sometimes can look just like a UFO. But just how do these clouds form? So where the stable moist air flows over a mountain range, you'll see a series of massive standing waves from the downside. And if the temperature at the crest of one of these waves drops to the dew point, then the moisture in the air will condense to form the lenticular cloud. As the moist air moves back down into the trough of the wave, the cloud will evaporate back into vapor. It's a wild and seemingly complicated process, but it also forms one of the coolest looking clouds up there. Number 12. Brocken Spectre. It may sound like something from your favorite video game, but the Brocken Spectre is an amazing occurrence that only a few people in this world will ever get to experience. But why? And just what is a Brocken Spectre? Well, this weather phenomenon occurs when a shadow is magnified and surrounded by a rainbow, which gives the appearance of an otherworldly and spectral appearance. The sun casts a shadow on the water droplets in the air behind you, which in turn reflects off the water droplets. It's pretty simple, but it also only happens on mountains, so unless you're a serious mountain climber, braving both the steep crags and cold dewy mornings, then you're out of luck. And for anyone seeing it in person for the first time, the experience is as jarring as it is heavenly. But be not afraid. Number 11. Mammatus clouds. While you may hear the words mammatus cloud and immediately think these crazy clouds are named after the giant woolly mammoth, you'd be wrong, because the mammatus cloud, or mammatocumulus, actually means mammary cloud. This meteorological term is applied to the cellular pattern of pouches that hang underneath the base of a cloud and get their name because of their unique shape resembling a woman's breast. But if you manage to catch these mammatus clouds at just the right time, say at sunset, then it could almost look like the sky's been set ablaze with fires rippling through the air. But in reality, when mammatus clouds appear, you may want to grab an umbrella or head inside, because it's a telltale sign there's a storm a-coming, and probably a big one, with probably lots of thunder and lightning to boot. So mammatus clouds are a great mix of beauty and danger. These clouds will most often extend from the base of a cumulonimbus, but they've also been found under altocumulus, altostratus, cirrus clouds, and even volcanic ash clouds. Number 10. Ball lightning. People have been freaking out about ball lightning for centuries. The sailors of old described it as fireballs coming from the sky, while more modern people assume it's aliens or UFOs. So then who is right? Well, neither of them. Also known as ghost lights, ball lightning mostly occurs during bad thunderstorms, but it's even been known to happen in closed rooms. Researchers in China have mostly figured out what causes this strange weather phenomenon and decided that when microwaves get trapped inside of a plasma bubble and eventually explode, create these balls of fire that can be as small as a golf ball or 10 feet in diameter. But not only is the ball lightning both bright and huge, but it also stinks. The gases inside explode, giving off a nasty stench that'll make you wish you were the one struck by lightning instead. Scientists have been so obsessed with ball lightning that the US government even tried to harness and weaponize them in the 1960s at the height of the Cold War. Luckily for everyone, that's not how the weather works. Number 9. Morning glory clouds. Have you ever just sat back and watched the clouds roll by as you pass the time? Well, these clouds really do roll. So then it's easy to say that you're just passing time watching the clouds roll by. Better known as morning glory clouds, this weather phenomenon looks like the clouds are literally rolling through the sky. That's because they're low, horizontal, tube-shaped Arcus clouds that are completely detached from other cloud features. But they look seriously awesome and will have you thinking that some cloud cars are passing through as well. Making matters even cooler, the morning glory clouds are solitary and maintain their shape as they move through the sky because of something called soliton. And while morning glory clouds are typically pretty rare, there is one Australian locale in particular that makes headlines. The sea breezes that develop over the Cape York Peninsula and the Gulf of Carpentaria have been known to create these morning glory clouds because of their mesoscale circulation. But every now and then, when the wind conditions are just right, you may be able to catch a morning glory cloud or two rolling over the coastal regions of places like California and Mexico, and even in the English Channel. Number 8. Dust devils. Not to be confused with the vacuum brand. These dust devils leave a really big mess in their wake. Dust devils are a relatively common phenomenon, especially in the dry, arid deserts of the world. And as their name would suggest, they're a dust-filled vortex formed when the ground becomes too hot to handle and warm up the air. The conditions become unstable, with temperatures at odds with one another and vertical mixing creating an unstable mixture. Hot air rushes straight up and the dust devil is formed. It's not all that different from a tornado, except these are on a much smaller scale and less destructive. These hot whirls of dust and dirt can range anywhere from 10 to 300 feet in diameter and 500 to 1,000 feet high. And depending on where they happen, they can last for just a few minutes or even a full hour before they fully dissipate. Number 7. Waterspout. Most of us landlubbers out there will never have the opportunity to see one of these, but waterspouts can be one phenomenal sight. And they are quite simple in the grand scheme, non-supercell spirals of wind over water. A waterspout is short-lived, lasting for only a few minutes, and unlike their more destructive cousins, tornadoes, a waterspout won't carry any water with it. And while these vortexes can reach speeds of 67 miles an hour, because they happen over the oceans, they're totally harmless. What exactly causes these waterspouts? Well, it usually starts with a cumulus or cumuliform cloud forming up above the warm waters of the tropical oceans. The differences in the temperature of the water and air causes a dark spot to form on the water's surface, and then up she goes. The spiral patterns form and the spray ring comes next to create the visible funnel of the condensation. Number 6. Catatumbo lightning. The Catatumbo River runs from Colombia to Venezuela and experiences such intense forms of lightning that they decided to name the phenomenon after it. Catatumbo lightning occurs when about 30 lightning strikes happen per minute, with a total of about 160 lightning storms a year, each one lasting about 9 hours a day. That's pretty intense. The Catatumbo lightning occurs specifically because of the river's proximity to the Andes Mountains that surround it. Heating and cooling patterns form, strong winds blow, and the air here is incredibly humid. The water from the river evaporates and the wind moves the warm air towards the colder mountain air. Ice crystals form and come into contact with the humid water droplets, and then the light show begins. It's the perfect recipe for what some may call the perfect storm, and it can't happen anywhere else in the world. Not like this, at least. And it's been going on for a while. We're talking for centuries. The Catatumbo River was once an important trade route, and the ships would use the heavy lightning storms as beacons in the distance. The energy emitted from the Catatumbo lightning is enough to power 100 million light bulbs, and the heat generated is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. This is one storm you don't want to be stuck in. Number 5. Jellyfish sprites. If you ever see this crazy weather phenomenon, fear not, because we're not being attacked by alien invaders. What you're seeing are jellyfish sprites. This dripping red aerial occurrence is much like lightning, only it happens much higher up in the Earth's atmosphere. While your average lightning storm is raging out about 9 miles high, jellyfish sprites are occurring anywhere from 30 to 55 miles up into the sky. These freaky red sprites are a type of colder plasma discharge that's born above the thunderclouds. They're basically a response to the positive lightning charges down below and Mother Nature's way of maintaining the delicate balance of her forces. It is incredibly tough to capture a jellyfish sprite on camera, especially because of light pollution from the world below. If you really want to sneak a peek of these red sprites, it has to be late at night and you need to be far away, not just from the storm itself, but from any light pollution too. So if you do manage to see a jellyfish sprite, make a wish, because the odds of you ever seeing one again in your lifetime are slim to none. Number 4. Twin tornadoes. What could possibly be worse than witnessing or falling victim to a tornado? How about 2 tornadoes? Twin tornadoes don't come around very often, only one every 10 to 15 years, but when they do form, it's usually a doozy. The original storm cell has to be incredibly violent for the second tornado to come into play, and it can go either one of 2 ways. One funnel is so strong that it forms another smaller and less powerful funnel, or as the first one is dying, a new one forms from it to finish the job. One of the first twin tornadoes on record happened in Austin, Texas in 1922, which caused nearly $1 million in damages. But in more recent years, meteorologists and storm chasers tracked a set of twins in Nebraska in 2014, and another one in Kansas just 2 years later. While a twin tornado may be an amazing weather phenomenon, the destruction it leaves behind is anything but. Number 3. Fallstreak Hole. Alright, next up on the list is the Fallstreak Hole, or hole punch cloud. This cloud is pretty cool because it's a large circular gap that forms in cirrocumulus and altocumulus clouds. But really, what it looks like is someone dropped a giant ball from above the clouds, and you get this hole as a result. But in reality, these fallstreak holes happen when the temperatures of clouds drop below freezing, and the water itself hasn't quite frozen yet because of a lack of ice nucleation particles. So when a portion of the water does start to catch up and freeze, it sets off something of a domino effect, and the water vapor around it freezes and falls to the earth below, creating a massive hole in the sky. But even something as simple as a jet passing by could create this domino effect as well, so the evaporation process can be quite sensitive all the way up there. What's especially cool and convenient about the occurrence of a fallstreak hole is that they're not really unique to only one area and have been photographed from the US to the UK. But that doesn't mean that at first glance, someone seeing a fallstreak hole for the first time won't freak out. Number 2. Animal rain. It's raining cats and dogs may just be a phrase, but what happens when things become a little more literal? Animal rain isn't just a biblical occurrence, and it's been happening for centuries. Not to worry, this doesn't mean the clouds are forming to drop beasts on us. Animal rain usually just involves fish, frogs, and other small forms of marine life that were really just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They can get caught up in something as big as a hurricane or as small as a waterspout, and as you would expect, what goes up must come down. And if the animal moves offshore mid-air, then there's a good chance that they're coming down in a neighborhood near you. People have been reporting animal rains for hundreds of years, with everything from catfish to snakes to crabs, and even bats falling from the sky. And while animal rain is a relatively uncommon occurrence, one Texas town was greeted by fish raining from the sky one evening in 2021. Thank God it was just fish. Number 1. Green Flash Sunset. Pirates may have been a superstitious lot with all sorts of strange sayings and beliefs, from mermaids to spending an eternity in Davy Jones' locker. And while some of their sayings were a bit more outlandish than others, some of them rang true, one of them being the Green Flash. More than just folklore, the Green Flash or Green Ray lasts for just a brief moment twice a day, once just before the sunrise and the other before sunset. But daily occurrences aside, the conditions have to be perfect. Depending on how thick the atmosphere is, the water vapor in the atmosphere absorbs the sun's bright yellow and orange colors, and the air molecules scatter the violet light. Think the Dark Side of the Moon album cover. So now just leaves the red, blue, and green light left. So when the sun hits the horizon, the light is bent in such a way that it produces a red and blue-green color. But because the color red is always going to be the closest to the horizon, that just leaves the flash of blue-green. And if you blink, you will almost certainly miss it. The green sunset or green flash is a classic example of why we can't dismiss every wives' tale or piece of folklore that we hear growing up. Makes you wonder what other myths are actually real.